Okay, I'll try and do this without stumbling over too many words here, but do try to understand if I do. Okay, so the topic that was given to me is why good framing matters. And there's a couple reasons. I mean, one, aesthetics. You want your artwork to look as good as it can look and also to reflect your personal taste. Another thing is that you want to get the right look, so it doesn't look like it was forced into an existing 11 by 14 frame, or, you know, because sometimes you can get a piece and you might, I mean, I know a lot of artists, everybody, we all have frames laying around that we've gotten at flea markets or antique stores, or what I'm starting to do now is old pieces that I have that I'm not going to show anymore, pop the artwork out and reuse the frame. But I know sometimes, you know, you get a frame and the artwork isn't quite the same proportion as the frame. So what do? You know, if it's like a watercolor or a pastel, you cut a matte to sort of make it fit. Well, you might have, depending on the frame, you might have this much matte left and right. You might have this much matte top and bottom. And you can look at it and you know it was forced in there. So custom framing, you know, it's going to cost you more money. I mean, that goes without saying. But you can get something that really, really does work well. You know, if you want, well, this piece I brought in, if you want matte margins that are the same all the way around, you can have that. You can have a double matte. You can bottom weight the matte so that your bottom margin, instead of being 3 inches, is 3.5 inches. You can do anything. The other thing, another reason why good framing matters. You want to protect your art. Or if you're buying art as an investment, you want to protect your investment. And you want to use the right glass. You want to use archival materials. The right materials, they'll conservation grade materials. They'll just prolong the life of your art. A lot of times, if you just use clear glass, not conservation grade glass, just regular clear glass you get at Lowe's or Home Depot, you put it in. Yeah, it does the job of protecting the piece, but it doesn't really do the job of protecting the piece, because what happens after a few years, your piece stands a good chance of fading. And it doesn't happen overnight, it doesn't happen in a year, but over a couple of years it does start to happen. And I would always see that a lot if somebody brought a piece in and if it just had regular glass, and say they want to change up the mats on it. You pull the mat off, and if it's a print, you can tell right away how much it's faded, because, you know, that much of your print goes underneath the mat. And you see, oh, wow, that's got a lot more color than the image that we're seeing. So it does fade. And like I said, because it's doing it slowly over a couple of years, you're not aware of it. So it really is pretty important to get the right glass. And I'm going to show you, I got little glass samples here so that you, that's okay, so that you understand, you know, somewhat about glass. And okay, and you also want your framing to be technically correct and professional looking, especially if not for yourself, if you're selling your work. Let's give that buyer a really complete professional package. That's about it for why good framing matters. So I'll see you all later. No, but I mean, really, I mean, they're all good reasons. That's pretty much it. What I want to do, I brought a bunch of stuff. And how many people have like been to a professional framer, like a small frame shop? Oh, okay, that's not bad. That's pretty good. I know a lot of times, a lot of artists don't. I think just generally, not artists, but just people in general, I think Picture Frame Magazine did a study on that several years back. It was like a really low percentage. I think it was about 7% of people that they interviewed had been to a a professional framer, which I don't know. I mean, it's a tiny, tiny amount of people. I think sometimes people get intimidated maybe with custom framing. You hear, custom, ooh, man, I don't know. What I want to do is maybe take some of that mystery out of it. So if you do go into a custom shop, you have a little bit more of an idea what to look for and what some of the materials are. Okay, so you'll have to forgive me. I got a cheat sheet here. I got 3 cheat sheets here. So, okay, so glass is one of the big things. What pieces should be under glass? Generally, it works on paper. Watercolors, prints, pastels, graphite, charcoal drawings. Pieces like acrylic paintings, oil paintings, generally are not glazed. Although you might see them occasionally glazed. I think a lot of times you'll see glass on like an oil painting, and it seems like it's usually when it's in a public place. And I think they do it so that people go up, and if they do that, they're not getting the oil from their fingers all over the painting.
You use the word glaze, referring to the glass. Not to
Oh, no, not glaze, yeah.
The glaze is the glaze.
Glazing, picture frame glazing.
Okay.
Yeah, artistically, glaze is altogether different when you're painting than when you're framing. So we've got different types of glass. I'll try not to use the word glazing.
It's a learning
No,
curve.
it's the term.
Yeah, something to learn.
Okay, so you got top of the line glazing, museum glass. Museum glass is what's known as an AR glass, anti-reflective. Now, anti-reflective is not the same as non-glare. They are totally different animals. This top-of-the-line glass filters out 99% of your UV rays, and that's what leads to fading, so that's important.
So it's a protective.
Yeah, you always, I think, you put X number of hours into painting a piece, or if you've gone to a fair, an art festival, and you've bought a print, a giclée for $100, hey, you know what? Protect it. So, but you always, in my opinion anyway, you always want to use a conservation grade glass. With AR glass, you get very little light reflecting back at you. The other thing is, it's clear. It is an incredibly clear glass. I know a lot of times at a frame shop, like you cut the glass on a wall cutter, and I really hate leaving this, like the piece that's left over on the wall cutter, because it's really too easy to not see it and go over there and grab, and you end up cutting your hand. But anyway, it's pricey stuff. It's the best you can get. Next you've got, well, let's go to this one next.
Is glass priced per inch or per?
Pretty much per inch. Can
you give us range?
This by this.
Can you give us a range of an idea?
How much per inch?
I mean, we're looking at this versus that.
Okay, so let's take conservation glass, conservation clear. Now this is just regular old glass, but it's got a UV coating. So as far as protecting your art, it does the same thing as this. It filters out 99% of your UV rays. The big difference is, if you hold this under one of these lights, you're going to see that light. You're going to see a big hot spot. This, you'll get a little bit of glare, but nothing like you will with this. So it's not an AR glass. It's just glass that's got a UV coating. If you frame a piece with this, let's say the piece of conservation clear that you're buying, let's say it runs you $30. 3 times, you're looking at $90 to $100.
Just so we have, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't give you a price because everybody prices it differently. Some will be, some frame shops will be higher on the glass, lower on the mats. Some will be higher on the mats, lower on the glass. So at the end of the day, when you total everything up, they should all be, all the frame shops should be about the same. Some might be 20% higher, 20% lower. But if you get the guy that, somebody quotes you, 3 people quote you $300 or in that range, and then you get the guy that quotes you $125, you don't want to use that guy. I'd be apprehensive about that. Okay, so this one here, this is UltraView 70. It's called UV 70. And this is an AR glass, just like museum glass. Gives you the same look. Again, AR, anti-reflective. So it cuts down on a lot of the reflection. This is priced in between the Conclear and the museum glass. The big difference between this and museum glass, this filters out, I mean, you can come up and read these things, 99% of your UV rays. This filters out 70%. So you get the same look, but you give up something as far as UV protection. So you kind of have to balance that out a bit. After that, you've got non-glare glass. Now, this is just a personal bias. I hate non-glare glass. I would never use it because what happens is, if you have, say you have a document that, I don't know, it's a replica of the Declaration of Independence, but it's just black and white. Yeah, this is fine. It cuts down a whole lot on the glare. But if you have a nice, colorful pastel piece, this kills your color. It just makes it kind of soft and milky looking. The other thing is, too, the way it diffuses the light, the further away, and you can do this up here if you want, the further away this gets from the object, if you put 3 mats on, you've lifted it that much. The further away it is, the more it diffuses the light. Yeah, so.
Is there a thickness also of the glass? Does that matter, or is it always standard?
Well, your AR glasses, the UV 70 and the museum glass, they are 2 millimeters thick. These guys are all 2.5 millimeters thick.
Huh.
Not the end of the world.
No. I just wondered if there's really a difference in true thickness.
No, not really. Okay. No. Although I'll tell you, I mean, when you frame, you really do feel that thickness. As soon as you pick up one of these glasses, you can tell right away, oh, this feels thinner. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't think 0.5 millimeter, but you get used to feeling 2.5 millimeters. You feel 2. You can tell pretty quickly. And last but not least, I did want to mention too, with this non-glare glass, it does come in just regular old non-glare. It comes in conservation non-glare. So you can get it, but.
Yeah, well, you can see when you hold it up, we can't even read through it.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can see my hand's probably pretty fuzzy looking. Mm-hmm. It stays perfectly clear, no matter how far away you get it. And then you've got acrylic. Most people call it plexi. Plexiglass is just a brand name. It's generally called acrylic. This is nice and not so nice.
It's scratched.
It scratches very easily. It's half the weight, though. So if you've got a piece that's this big, and if you're just going to hang it on the wall and it's never coming off that wall, this is great. Mm-hmm. If you're doing art festivals or even art shows, and people are moving it around, and particularly, it's not you that's moving it. You don't know who is moving it. It's going to get scratched. Many, many years back in the 90s, I used to do some of the outdoor art festivals, And at that time, I was doing all watercolors. And they were all framed with glass. Let me tell you, you get 10 of them in a container, they got some weight to them. So I decided at one point, I'm going to change them all out. I'm going to use plexi. Well, that lasted one season because they all got scratched up. Even with me, it was just me handling them mostly. But still, you're packing them and and I ended up going back to glass and just, dealing with the fact that it was heavy.
Have you also noticed with the acrylic distortion with the acrylic?
No.
Oh, because I've had some people bring pieces into the gallery with acrylic and look at it it's the light on it, and it looks not flat.
I've never had a
Like an
problem
old
with
piece of like antique glass or something. I'm like,
No, I've never, the old antique glass,
Yeah.
you do see the bubbles and the ripples and everything. I've never come across that with good quality acrylic, framer quality
That's the key.
acrylic.
That's the key, I think.
It could be.
It's thin.
Yeah, I mean, there is a difference, there really is, between acrylic you're going to buy at Home Depot and framer quality acrylic. It is held to a higher standard. Okay, so that's pretty much everything with glass. Okay, now mats. I knew I'd forget something. I forgot to bring mat samples. But mat samples, or mat boards, come in a gazillion colors, textures. You have suedes, you have linens. You've got some that are just, there's one that it's called pigskin for obvious reasons. You look at it, it looks like a football. There's another one that looks like a basketball. There's one it's white and it's dimpled, golf ball. So there's all kinds of mats, and they also come in different plies, different thicknesses. Now your typical mat boards it's 4-ply mat, so it's less than 1/8 of an inch. You can get an 8-ply mat. Now an 8-ply mat is basically just 8 plies. It's twice the thickness of a 4-ply mat. So that's coming in, that is a good 1/8 of an inch thick. If you're cutting your own mats, it can be a bear to cut. It can. If you got a really good, professional mat cutter, you can do it a lot easier. I have at home, some of you may have this also. It's a Logan 301 mat cutter. You're smiling. Do you have one? Yeah. Okay.
And I don't use it. I don't like to measure, so I don't cut mats.
Well, I don't use mine either. I bought mine back around 1990, so it's like 35 years old, and it still works. Owning a frame shop, I had a $1,500 mat cutter. You get spoiled real quick with that. It is so much easier to cut with. So, but I mean, truly, like your Logan 300, if you're just cutting a 4-ply mat and you're not doing anything fancy, it'll cut 4-ply mats just as good as the $1,500 mat cutter. Now, if you want to cut an 8-ply mat, it's not going to handle an 8-ply mat. If you want to get real fancy and do a V-groove, I don't know, does anybody know what a V-groove is? Yes, yeah, you worked in a frame shop. V-groove is, you can cut a groove in here, and it's a cut that goes this way and a cut that goes this way, and you pull that piece out. It's really neat looking.
Yeah.
You can do that, and you can, even on a really good professional mat cutter, it's easy to screw up your mat doing V-grooves. It is easy. You got to be really careful. But with the Logan 301, you're not doing a V-groove. But yeah, so mats, I mean, there's literally hundreds of colors and textures of mat board. I really did mean to bring some, and I know I'd forget something. That was the one thing I forgot. So let's see what else we got here.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Most people, like I see you framed yours double mat, white on white.
Yes.
Do most people use double mats today? I like to do that. I don't know if everybody does.
Well, I think, okay. Let me answer it this way. I think most framers try to get a person to go with a double mat, some framers triple mats. I personally think triple mats are getting a little overboard, but I love double mats. They're great. It gives you a lot more bang for the buck, and really you're paying for another mat. You could do something like a fillet in there. A fillet's going to run you a whole lot more than a mat.
What is that?
A fillet. I should have brought a fillet too. Okay, a fillet is, it's basically like a little, it's a thin piece of molding.
Oh, I've
It's only
seen
about a
that.
quarter inch.
I've seen molded.
You cut it and you can,
Yeah,
fillets are cool because, like where I have a double mat on this, you could take off that bottom mat, you could put a fillet there.
yeah.
You could, if I thought, gee whiz, a nice gold fillet would dress this frame up a little bit. You can add a fillet to a frame. So they're pretty versatile. I mean, they do get they get kind of pricey, but they're nice. Yes?
So when you assemble the print or whatever piece of work you have, what type of like tape, how do you put it?
Oh, we're going to get to that. You're getting ahead of me a little bit. That's why I got all this stuff here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let's see. And also, it's always good to get to know a local framer, because if you have framing questions, if you have a framing problem, they can always help you out. I know a lot of people, okay, so they'll say like, oh, gee whiz, well, the rabbet, the depth of the frame, that's called the rabbet, is only this, but my stretched canvas is this. How do I secure it in there? Talk to a local framer. They can, called offset clips, real easy to use. But you should just get to know a local framer. And this might sound, I don't mean this to sound nasty. When I say a local framer, I'm talking somebody smaller. Not like a Michaels. Again, I don't mean to, I'm sorry?
We do have a few little.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you did have Darlene Weber up here. Darlene used to have a shop in Skipback.
That was probably years ago.
Oh, it was, yeah, it was probably about 17, 18 years back. Up with Art, it was. And then I heard she moved up to the Pottstown area. She might not be right in Pottstown, but I know she's up around this area. And to be honest with you, Darlene's older than me, so I'm guessing she's retired. Whether her son took it over, I don't know. But you get to know somebody with their own shop, and they really have a vested interest in what they're doing. It's their shop. It's their reputation that's on the line. So they're gonna give you the best that they can. If they're not doing that, then you know you don't want to go to that person. But yeah, it's always good. It's always good to get to know, if you're in the art field, to just get to know a local framer, someone that's independent.
What's your double mat, same color? Or should you?
It's entirely up to you. It really is. You know, most shows, they want a white mat, off-white mat, if you're going to put it in a show. I don't generally do the same color mat. I think it looks really nice on the right piece. But I usually do some sort of a top mat that's, I rarely use white, like white, because a lot of times it's just too stark. It looks great, I think, on like a black and white photo. But on a lot of paintings, I think it's a little too harsh. So I'll use something that's like an off-white, and I might just pick a color somewhere in the painting and use that as a bottom mat. So, I mean, you're only seeing a quarter inch of it or so. Any other? Okay. Oh, yeah, I have written here, you know, about getting to know a local framer. I have written, he or she won't bite. So, no, really, but I mean, sometimes, you know, people can feel intimidated. You guys shouldn't. When I say that, I think it's more people that don't necessarily, they're taking in their kid's graduation picture and they don't know art, they don't know framing. I think it's easy for them to feel a little intimidated sometimes. But okay, so let's see, onward and upward here. Okay, now we're going to get to some of the fun stuff. Okay, so yes,
Are we done with mats?
pretty much.
Okay, can you talk about archival quality mats, acid-free mats versus regular mats? You probably don't even do any regular mats.
No, haven't done a regular mat in years.
But just educate.
Okay, so yes, you do have archival or conservation grade mat board, foam boards. All the materials in your framing package should be acid-free. Acid is, well, these things are paper products. And unless you get a rag mat that's made out of cotton rag, the cotton is just naturally acid-free. However, if you get mats that are, you know, from wood pulp, that's not acid-free. They can neutralize it and get rid of it, but that's, you know, acid-free mats, they won't yellow over time. And when I say yellow, it's not the whole mat. What it is, you can usually tell an acid-free mat from one that's not acid-free. If you look at the bevel, usually they have a white bevel. I think the bevel on these two, I don't know if that's white or it might be the same color as the mat. It might be the same color all the way through. But if it's a white bevel, after a couple of years, an acid-free mat, that white bevel is still white. On a mat that's not acid-free, it starts turning tan. The longer it goes, the tanner it gets. It just gets dark and it gets ugly. It's not like a nice accent color. It's like blotchy and it just does not look particularly good. Your foam board, you don't even see the foam board, but the foam board is behind that. Your artwork, in this case, it's a watercolor. It's right up against foam board. So you want your foam board to be acid-free. The acid in these materials can and probably will leach into your print, your watercolor, your pastel over time. Again, it's not one of them things that happens overnight. It happens over years. But if you take, going back to where we were about the, if somebody brings in a piece and they have a mat and they want to change it up, and I think I referenced that with glass. A lot of times you pull the mat off, you can see that little bit that was underneath the mat is a different color than the rest of the print. Well, with a mat that's not acid-free, you'll see what's called mat burn. And it's just the acid in the mat migrating through to the print. You know, your print usually has white, you know, like Giclée prints. You have your print, it's usually got a white border around it. That white border, a lot of times, is semi-white. It's kind of tannish. And that's the acid from your mat leaching through, or, you know, against the white of the paper. And it does affect it.
Is the bevel on all mats the same?
Yeah.
The edge bevel?
Yep.
Always the same?
Yeah. The only time a bevel would be different, yeah, I don't know what angle they set the mat cutters at, but they are always, you can't adjust it. The only time you would cut it differently would be if you did add a fillet to a mat, and instead of having a bevel this way, you back cut it.
Oh, so can it slide onto it, yeah.
Yeah, so you're back cutting the bevel on the mat, but unless you're a framer, you're not even, you probably wouldn't even be aware, oh, that's been back cut. It's just not one of those things that you're really would see. Okay, so let's get to some of the materials here, like spacers. You guys all know what spacers are and what they're used for? Okay, these are spacers. Spacers are little plastic strips. That's an 1/8 inch spacer. There's a 1/4 inch spacer.
Okay.
And yeah, well, you know what? I got a piece right here. If you want, you can even pass that around.
Do you put spacers on everything? Do you put spacers?
No,
on-
no, no.
Just to get them to fit the frame,
No.
if the frame's thick one.
I'm going to show you what spacers are used for.
These are really neat. I know.
Well, I've seen foam spacers.
Okay, so most of the time, when you're framing something, a work on paper, you're gonna use, alrighty, thank you. You're gonna use a mat. Now, why do we even use mats? Okay, mats, they're not just, go ahead.
Enhances the,
It does,
Yeah.
but they also have a real functional purpose.
Keep your oil pastel from the glass.
Well, not just pastels. You don't want,
You don't want any paper to be right against glass.
bingo, that's it. Bad environment.
spacer.
You never want your paper up against the glass. So what we would do is, like this print, and this gets to your question from earlier.
what tape?
This is an acid-free tape.
What happens, why is it wrong to put
'Cause
paper up
they don't-
against glass?
It'll go
Oh.
to the glass.
Stick,
Well,
it sticks to it.
It was stick to the
it
glass.
can. I mean, with photographs,
Oh, yeah.
you probably, I think everybody's had a photograph where you put it in a little, 4x6 frame, and after 5 years, you go to take it out, and the emulsion has stuck
Yeah.
to the glass.
Yeah.
But even aside from photographs, it's just never good because
You want that air pocket?
you always want to maintain air. Depending on where you hang it. If you hang it somewhere, if you hang it on that wall, and say you've got a window or the door here on this wall, and the sun's coming in, the sun hits it, it can build up, if it builds up enough heat and it's a humid day, it can, it can build up humidity, or it can build up moisture inside the glass. It's not going to be on the outside, it's going to be on the inside. If your artwork is up against it or your print, it's getting wet, it's getting all over it. And if you leave it like that, if it goes on and on, you're getting mold in there. Now, if you have a mat around it, yeah, the mat's going to get ruined.
Yeah.
You change the mat up for 25 bucks, 30 bucks, whatever. But you haven't lost your artwork. So you always want to maintain that airspace. So with this guy,
So what's the tape?
I'm sorry, what's that?
The tape you're using?
This is called Framers 2. It's an acid-free tape.
Okay.
There's a few different kinds of tape out there, acid-free tapes. The absolute best one is, it's actually Japanese, you might know. Is it mulberry paste?
I've heard that.
Yeah. But you have to wet it and wait for it to dry. This is fast. And it's acid-free. The other thing is, if I put this down, I don't want it down, usually you can peel it up, but if you can't, you can get a hair dryer. You hit it with some heat, and it'll come up pretty easily. Okay, so when you're just putting a print, a painting inside a mat, now, I know a lot of people will tape it all the way around. No, you don't want to do that. All you want to do is just hinge it from the top. Put 2 pieces like that, and then you just put a piece going across it. So you got one piece down like this, and then another piece coming across the top of that piece. I'll pass this around, you can take a look.
Oh, okay. Why only hinge it on the
Whoop.
top?
Why only hinge it from the top? Because paper will absorb moisture. And what happens when it absorbs moisture, you know in the summertime, like when we hit July or August, and it's really humid out there, and your front door is sticking because it swells just slightly. This does the same thing. This artwork will swell a little bit with humidity. If you have it taped all the way around, it has no place to swell to. And that's when you'll start to get this going on in your print. So what you want to do, this will hold it. It holds it just fine. And it just lets it hang. If it swells a little bit this way,
It has room to go.
it has room to move. Did you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. So I don't know if anybody wants to see that. Now, spacers. We had passed around the spacers.
Yeah, we did that. They're up here.
Yep. Okay, now, I know what it was. I think, Fran, did you ask, do you use spacers on everything?
Right.
Okay, no. I mean, that is enough airspace, just that mat. That, by the way, is a 4-ply mat.
I'm happy to do that because I've never used them and I don't want to know that now that I've been doing everything.
No, spacers. See, I've got this photograph here. Pretty cool photo.
Yeah.
But I didn't take it. I'm the guy that if I take a photo of you, you're probably getting chopped off about here. No, it is a nice photo. But I framed it up without any mat. So I don't want the glass right up against it. So I put spacers on the glass.
Oh, that's what they slide on the edge. Okay.
Yeah, all right.
Now,
So that sits,
this goes
on top
against
of
the
it.
spacers. So now I've got 1/8 of an inch of air in between the
and
glass.
you have a frame.
And yeah,
Did the spacers come in colors? Like
spacers,
this one's framing it.
no, they're pretty much, you have black, you have white, you have clear, and depending on who makes the spacers, I think Arlo spacers, you have a smoke color, which is just a gray.
Yeah.
But that, in fact, that's a smoke.
Does spacers have like double-sided tape on it, or is that?
Yeah, it has an adhesive.
I didn't know.
So it's stuck
I didn't
to,
notice that when I was looking
it's
at it.
stuck
That's-
to the
okay, now I
glass.
get it.
Yeah,
That was the brown side.
yeah, it's just an adhesive underneath.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And then, and you don't, when you put these down, I've seen people put them,
Want this passed?
if everybody's careful, I mean, I don't want anybody to get cut. It is a piece of glass.
I got it.
Yeah, you can see it's chipped.
But you wouldn't use those if you were using a mat.
No,
No.
no, I would not. They're used in place of a mat.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Give a little tip on the hinge hanging. If you have a larger piece
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing the hinge method, try to remember to transport it upright.
Oh, yeah, that is a
If you lay
good,
them down sideways,
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
they can.
they can.
I
They
know.
can slide.
That's a voice of experience.
Yes.
Okay.
One other thing I usually do too, when I hinge it, piece of artwork, I usually use 3 hinges. Simply because a lot of times, one hinge, if you just use 2, one of them, after so many years, is going to slip. And then your artwork is eh. So if you have 3, you still got 2 of them, hopefully, that's holding it up, and you get another couple of years out of it. But, yeah, that's a good point, though.
I had
Yeah,
a show
keep
where I
it.
had a really long print, and I had transported it there this way because it wouldn't fit in my car like this, and I even hung it, and then I came back a week later, and the tape had come loose, and it
Yeah.
was hanging like this,
Yeah.
and nobody let me know.
Yeah, so what you do with,
There, on the edge.
It's on the
Oh.
frame.
okay,
Yeah, your frame, yeah.
so this would go in here.
Used to glue that on. To glue
It
the
comes
space-
with it.
It comes with a,
The backside has sticky.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's, where,
Okay.
this tan color,
I didn't know they-
that's an adhesive underneath. And you don't stick this to the frame either, you stick it to the glass. Because again, the frame, it's a wood product. It's got lignin in it. Lignin is an acid that just is naturally occurring in wood. And after a while, the lignin attacks the adhesive. And,
The glass fell in.
Whoa.
It seated itself.
okay. What'll happen is if you stick this to the frame, your top spacer, there's a good chance it's going to end up going boop like that because the adhesive will dry out if it's up against the wood. Okay, so you put the glass in there with the spacer facing up. This guy goes in next. Point driver. Anybody got a point driver? If you don't have a point driver, I was years before I got one because I was too cheap to buy one. I got tired of hitting my fingers with the,
Oh, the little points.
yeah,
Okay.
hitting my fingers with the hammer, trying to put brads in. This is quick, it's easy.
So it's a staple for the points.
Yep.
I just thought, it's-
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's done. It's in there. It is not coming out. And that's pretty much it.
Yep.
And then we put a dust cover on it. If we have a little bit of time,
Rich,
I'll.
hold it up again,
Oh,
that way.
oh.
Thank you.
If we have time at the end, ooh. Okay, we're not going to have time. I was going to say we'll put a dust cover on it. Okay. Now, as long as we're on frames, this is an acrylic. Acrylic, you would not put any glazing over it. So you just drop it in there, drop it into the frame.
Can they make a puller too?
Yeah, they do. I just get a pair of wire cutters and pull them out if I need to. And that's pretty much it for, oils, acrylics. This is just on a canvas board. In fact, it might even be a board
Do
that,
anything to the back except cover it?
yeah, well, that would be
Yeah, I'm just asking.
craft paper. Yeah, and basically what you do is you just get, it's called ATG. It's an adhesive. ATG is, I don't know what the letters ATG stands for. It seems like nobody in the framing world knows what the letters ATG stand for. But, but anyway, it's just, it's sort of like a tape, but it's not exactly a tape, because a tape has like, it's paper with sticky residue on it. When you lay this down, the sticky residue just comes off onto this. It's just like gummy stuff. You could push it off with your fingers when it comes off of this. And you know what?
Yeah,
Let's
use
just,
it for something.
that is your ATG. And it's just sticky stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But it doesn't have like a, it doesn't have like a paper carrier like tape would have. So it's neat stuff to have. Worked pretty well. And I would put that all the way around, put my dust cover on there, and then just take a razor blade and trim off the excess. Now, a couple other things. Are you guys familiar with float frames? Okay. So your regular frame, like that one, or this one that's got the snow scene with the spacers, you've got a lip. And your artwork, well, your glass goes in there, and then your artwork fits behind that lip of the frame. Now, a float frame is altogether different. Float frame is made for pieces that are on stretched canvas. And a float frame is like this. It has no lip. It would just sit in there. Again, let's pretend this is a stretched canvas. It's just going to sit in there, and you're going to leave a space, about 1/4 inch is typical, so that it gives the appearance that it's just floating in there.
Yes,
and then you
yeah.
secure it from behind. So that is what a float frame is.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if you just want to pass it.
ATG stands for adhesive transfer gun.
Okay. That works.
After all this time. We taught you something.
Oh, one other thing I want to back up a little bit to mats, because this was something I thought was kind of important, and I forgot to touch on it. Any of you guys pastelists? No. Oh, yeah, little bit.
Yeah.
Pastel, charcoal drawings, and things like that. Where a pastel, it's like a chalky substance, and when you hang it on the wall, doors closing, just people walking around, it gets a little vibration. What happens is a little bit the dust. It's just the nature of the beast. The dust tends to fall a little bit. Now, what happens is, if you have this real nice mat and you put it up against your pastel drawing or painting, when that pastel dust falls down, your nice white bevel that we were talking about earlier, because it's acid-free, isn't nice and white anymore. It's whatever color the dust is that falls down on it. So what I always have done when I frame stuff for pastelists, some pastelists don't want a mat and will just use a 1/4 inch spacer in there to keep the glass off. But if they do want a mat, I always raise my mats with foam board. And what happens is, we'll pretend this mat's not here. It raises it up so that any dust falling off of this doesn't fall on your bevel. You've created a little trough there because it's raised up. So it falls back there.
Okay.
So it's a nice way to do it. But it's just pieces of foam board. and it is ATG'd on there. Adhesive transfer gun on there.
Okay.
And in this one, we'll just real quick. Drop this in. Back it up with a piece of foam board that is acid-free. And that's pretty much it for that guy.
Good job.
Minus the, so do we have 5 minutes?
No, yeah.
Yes, sir.
So when you have say a numbered set of prints, and you sign it and date it, and put the numbers on, do you have a preference or recommendation for to use? Like,
I'm sorry, do I have a,
What do you sign
when you
with?
sign the map, like you're, one of 20.
okay, you're numbering
You're
it,
numbering it, you're putting your.
hand
maybe
signed,
the
numbered?
title, or whatever you put on there. I would get like a Sharpie with bleed and others maybe.
Usually just use a pencil.
It's fine, right? It's-
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Sharpies, they can fade sometimes too. You gotta be a little careful with them. But yeah, just most of the time I see them signed, they're just, you're talking about signing it on the white of the paper. Yeah, it's usually just pencil. Sometimes the exception to that would be, I guess, some photographers, they don't leave white. They'll frame or matte right up to the image. So they'll take like maybe a gold Sharpie, real fine point gold Sharpie, and they'll sign their name right on the corner of the print itself. Yeah, generally when you sign a giclée and number it, it's just on the white, and it's just pencil. So let's see.
So is it advisable with photography to leave the white border so you can sign? Or, no, I mean, I have a hard time signing the photo, because I feel like.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
going
the
to
best
hurt
way to
the
do
photo.
it. Yeah, it is. I think it is.
But then you're creating a white,
Then you're creating a white border, so that's kind of,
right, and you're already matting.
yeah. Now, some photographers will sign the matte. I don't particularly like that, simply
No.
because if you sell it to somebody and you've got let's say
And
you've
they
got a
take it
white matte,
off.
and they decide, I don't want a white matte, I
Yeah.
want a red matte.
Yeah.
Well, you could cut the SIG off of the mat and put it on the back. You could cut a window. You could cut it off of the mat, create a window in the new mat, and put it in the
If
window.
someone wants to do that. then-
Yeah, that's just it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've seen mats cut with a little.
With a little drop down, like a little
Yeah.
title box or
Just thought
something.
of that, yeah.
Yeah, you can do stuff like that. There's ways around it.
Yeah, I put something on the back of the photo.
I'm sorry, you,
I put a business, card on it.
oh, yeah, you always,
Eventually,
always.
someone's going to take everything apart of
You
it.
always want to have, contact information on the back of your artwork, because somebody's going to see it and they're going to say, wow, I really like that, but who's this person? If it doesn't have anything on the back, no, always put your card on the back. One other thing I really did want to, and then I'll stop yammering and you can get on with the.
You have a good 7 minutes.
Okay.
A good 7 minutes.
Okay, one other thing, I think I had mentioned it, but I failed to show you all. If you have, again, I'm going to say this, like this frame, it's got a rabbit depth here. It's about like this. I mean, it's good for this print and a piece of foam board. But let's say you've got a stretched canvas, and your stretched canvas is this deep. So it's sticking out higher than this. So how do you hold it in? Okay, so,
I have those at home.
what's that?
I have those at home.
Oh, offset clips. Yep,
Crimps in the back.
Yep.
that's what these are. They're offset clips. And they come in different heights, depths. I think this is, I don't know, might be 3/4 of an inch. No, that's, let's see, they're 3/4. Yeah, they come in, let me see. They start at an 1/8 inch. They go to 1/4 inch. I can pass them around. You got, that might be 3/4 of an
Yeah,
inch.
looks like 3/4.
I think this is, oops, this is a 1/2 inch. And I think this one is 3/8 of an inch. Oh, thank you.
There's writing on this. I
Now,
was just seeing up there.
it just probably says AMS. That's just who makes it. Now, despite all these little 1/8 inch increments, occasionally you get the piece that's in between them. So a lot of times you just got to get a pair of pliers and bend it. You find creative ways to make it work.
A couple little washers will take care of that.
Could you just?
You could do that, yeah, get cut pieces of mat board or
Yeah,
something.
you can
Yeah,
space it, put a
yeah.
spacer in there.
But, yeah, so that's how, if you do have a piece that's sticking out the back of the frame, it's deeper than the rabbet of the frame, that's the best way to secure it.
And then you don't put a dust cover on the back, I guess.
You can.
Yeah, I still put a dust cover on the back.
Sticking up.
Yeah,
Yeah, we just curve a little bit.
it's just, your dust cover comes along like this, and then if the frame's down here, it just bevels down like that. If you take your time and do it neatly, it can look pretty good. Plus, a lot of times, I just grab paper that I happen to have, and a lot of times I like to put a dust cover on my stuff with black paper. I just think it looks better. And so in the corners, when you have this and this coming together, that can get a little funky sometimes, but if you're using black paper, you don't see it as much. Even with the brown paper, if you see it, it's not the end of the world. But
You always put a dust cover on.
I put dust covers on everything. Oil paintings, prints, watercolors.
Makes it look complete.
It does, and it kind of gets back to what I was saying very early on about why good framing matters. And if you're selling your work, it gives it a professional look. And I want people to buy my work because they like my work. They like the painting that I do. But also, I want them to say, oh, wow, this frame is nice. Oh, look how nice this is done in the back. People do that. They really do.
Can I ask one other question about the wire?
Absolutely.
Do you like plastic coated wire or?
Oh, I love it, yeah.
That's-
As a matter of fact, okay, so when I had my own shop, the older I got, I started to develop arthritis in my thumbs. So, when you get the regular plastic coated wire or even galvanized wire, you put a knot in it and then you wind it, your thumbs start to go. That hurts. So this is what
Yeah, I do that.
I've done.
Oh, that's the coolest thing.
It is. It's fast, it's professional looking.
Yeah.
So where do you buy these?
Oh, I go online.
Can you get them? I was going to say, go to your
Yeah.
local framer and see if he can order it for you.
Oh, he won't.
It's,
I get
It's-
huge rolls of
That's
yeah.
amazing. What do you
Yeah.
call these little things?
the
Little
furrows.
crimpy things.
Frills?
Furrows.
Then you need a crimp tool.
And you need a crimp tool.
Your initial setup, it's pricey. The wire probably runs you $85 as opposed to,
Huge rolls.
it's a big roll, yeah. You get the little sleeves there or crimps. They're going to run you about $60. But you get like 1,000 of them.
But what's a good, like, online framer site?
I would just go on Amazon.
I got it on Amazon.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost that.
I know the two girls that bought my shop, they buy everything, a
On
lot of their
Amazon.
equipment on Amazon. So I never
I look for
did.
quality though, you know. And I like the D-rings,
Yeah, D-rings are
they're
nice.
great. I used to use,
yeah,
hooks, eye hooks, but, they were sticking out.
They do. I've never liked the screw eyes. These lay pretty flat.
Yeah,
They're a lot nicer.
yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. And just real quick, let's see.
Well, one of them you put the tape on,
Yeah,
this
I
one.
think it's that one. You know what? I'll put some on this because I got the wire off of it.
I watch many YouTube videos on how to load those guns.
Ooh. Nobody can.
I have a little one
It,
for a double sticky dispenser like that.
If you do it wrong, it goes into
Backwards,
itself.
yeah.
So I asked my framer, and he said he doesn't even load it, he just stretches it out and
You can.
puts it
oh,
on.
does it by hand? When I opened up off the wall, I had a partner, Carolyn, and Carolyn stayed with me for 6 years until she moved out to Colorado. But Carolyn hated this. She always rolled it by hand. And you know what? Carolyn was so good at it, she could do it as fast by hand as I can with this. She's excellent.
It's really hard to reload the tape.
It's not that it's hard.
You're
It's
doing it
confusing, and you do it enough times, you get
You're
it.
very technologically oriented, I know that. That's why I don't use a Mac cutter.
That's why
I don't use a Mac cutter. I don't even know how to load a tape cutter.
I think a Mac cutter's easier than this.
They have a little mini one for double sticky, which is,
Okay.
it does the same exact thing.
I mean, this thing is a kind of a bear to, you just have to do it enough that you get used to doing it. That's not that one, this is this one.
You cut them? You big cut it or you set it,
Oh, well, no, I mean, I still got to trim it.
you trim it? Okay.
But I cut one. This was, in case I had time, I was going to do that one too. And that piece is slightly smaller than this.
So you suggest brown or black for the back?
Yeah,
Why are you
Razor
laughing?
blade you're using?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Just a razor blade?
Yep, it's actually from a mat cutter. It's just
Exacto.
it's a little,
They have a fairly inexpensive tool that does that too, but I mean, you can just.
that's right, yeah, they do. And you can pick them up for under $10, maybe $6, $8.
I do have a tool, but then it makes a line in the wood.
Then you should be on the wood. You tilt it off the edge.
No, with mine, you have to be on the wood because you lay it next to the wood, and then there's like a little quarter-inch indentation where the blade is. So the blade goes right on the wood.
On
It
the
makes a
back.
line on the wood,
On the back.
on the back, yeah, on the back. It doesn't bother me.
Right about this point, when I realized got an eyelash on the mat on the other side.
I always inspect your work before
That's
you
why I go to
seal it up.
Oh, what was that? What?
Right about this point is when I look at it, and realize I have an eyelash.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Dirt on the other side,
That happens way too often.
and then you have to undo it.
Even when you do this stuff every day, it happens way too
That's
often.
funny.
And if I could find the two little holes, let's see, is that one? No. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's basically it.
Looks nice.
And then you just put this guy back on, which when I get home, I'll find where the holes are and use those holes again. But that's pretty much it. And you just, for absolute certain, you put your contact information back here.
I
And
put it inside.
it's always good, too, to put the title of the painting, because when you enter it in a show, and if you have, okay, if I called it Girl on the Beach, that's pretty self-explanatory. If I called it Tranquility, it could be anything. So if it goes in the show, the person that's hanging the show, okay, Tranquility, which, is it this one? Is it that one? That one looks pretty tranquil, you know. So, yeah, it just makes life easier for
Would
everybody.
you sign the back also, or?
You know what? What I do is I usually sign the back of my painting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that if this gets torn off or anything, I'll sign the back of my painting.
Correct.
I'll put the date on it. I'll put the medium on it and the title on it, so that when I die,
Everybody will know.
everybody will know. They'll have a chronological idea. Oh yeah, Godshall did this one in 2025. It's just, you know, sometimes people that buy it, they want to know. So, you know, I think it's a good idea. But anyway, that's pretty much it. I know there's a lot of stuff I didn't get to cover, but I think I got pretty much everything that I have written down in my notes. Anybody questions or anything? Or you tell me, do we have time for questions? Yes.
If you were to remove that after it's been on there for a while and part of the cover paper sticks, how would you take that off?
I don't.
What would you-
Well, I mean, this one, I had reused this. This is a frame that I used before.
Okay,
And I don't know if you really looked at it. It did have paper going around it.
okay.
It wouldn't matter, because you're covering.
Yeah. I just
You know, you could
take a
scrape
razor
it off
blade and I
a
just
bit, probably.
trim this paper off, and yeah, I'm going to have paper on the edge, but so what?
What do you clean the glass with as you're?
Oh,
Any glass cleaner, or?
well, you want one that's non-ammonia or ammonia-free, I guess. There's a glass cleaner. It's in the framing field. It's called Sprayway. It's a good glass cleaner. But that way, if you get one that doesn't have ammonia in it, you don't worry about any off-gassing of the ammonia inside your framing package. But yeah, you could probably go on Amazon. They seem to have everything in the world, and it's called Sprayway. And you could get that, or any glass cleaner that says, you know, ammonia-free.
Sell it at Home Depot. And Lowe's. I think they do.
But I made sure when I closed my shop, I had 3 cans of Sprayway to take home. So I still do a little bit of framing at home. That's about it.
Rich, thank
Well,
you.
thank you, Rich.
Yeah.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Thank you.